on YouTube. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about and comparing slip-on exhausts. So we're comparing the Acropovic exhaust with the Blackwidow. So I'm currently on a Duke KTM 125, which is stock. It has the catalytic converter in it and it has a silencer. The only thing that's changing is the end can. So we currently have the Acropovic one on. This one, I believe, currently it's going for about 700-ish pounds. It's going for roughly 700-ish pounds, and it's made up of carbon fiber. I think that it looks really nice on the bike, and it's a good size and it fits well with the size of the bike. I also like the fact that it's an add-on for the bike. So with the bike there's add-ons, and you can decide whether you want the stock exhaust on the bike or you want this Acro slip-on which is made for the bike. However, the one main complaint I have is the sound of the bike. I think that the bike sounds a bit too high pitched and raspy, and you can't really hear the bike. You also hear a lot of the other parts of the bike, so I can hear the chain and the tyre spinning because the exhaust is that quiet. So I would like it if the exhaust could be louder. I get that it's made for the Duke and it's supposed to be power enhancing, or you know, it's supposed to be fitted for the bike and made for the performance of the bike. I do understand that. However, I think it would be really nice if you had the option to add or remove dB killer, as I think that could make it sound louder and nicer. However, overall I think it's a really good exhaust, and for how it looks and what it's supposed to do, it does the job. It's also held on by two springs, so you have a spring at the top and a spring at the bottom that holds it on, which is a nice thing. However, them springs are quite hard to put on and off, especially when you don't have a spring puller. So now let me get back and I will change over this exhaust and I'll put the Blackwidow on, and then we'll go out and we'll talk about the Blackwidow, and then I'll do a comparison so you guys know what one you think I prefer, what one you might be hearing from now on in the videos, and also if the price affects how the bike sounds or the quality, or if they feel the same, look the same. So yeah, let me head back now and I'll do a little editing magic for you guys, and you'll see me taking the exhaust off and putting the Blackwidow on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a drill with the star bit and a spanner, and we're going to put it behind on the nut, put it out, and we're going to unscrew the top bolt. Just holding it in, and then we're going to shimmy the bolt out, making sure that we don't lose anything in the meantime. So now the bolt's out, shimmy that away. There's a spacer, so we'll put spacer 1 and spacer 2 on, and then we'll shimmy this out the way, and we'll put the screw back in for now with the nut on it so we don't lose it. Then the next step is you're supposed to use like a spring puller or spring remover. We don't, we just have some long pliers. So now we're going to remove these springs. Okay, there's one of them. They're really hard. There's 2. And there's the second one. So now make sure you keep the springs somewhere safe. This exhaust will just slide off, twist it left and right, and it will just come off like this. And for my springs, I like to just sit them back onto the top spring so they don't get lost. Then for the Blackwidow we have here, first thing we're going to do is remove both baffles. So tap it on the floor, first baffle is removed, put that to the side, second baffle is in there with a screw. So then all we're going to do is we can get one of our hex tools, size 4, and we're just going to put it in, and we're going to unscrew it. Hold it upside down so gravity can help bring it out, as there's a little spacer. Now put that to the side, and then I'm going to grab my long pliers again, just grab a hold of it, pull it out, and then again same exact thing, so I don't lose any of the screws. I'm going to screw it back in just so I know that I need to screw it in, and then I'm put that to the side again. Now this exhaust is a bit different. The other one was spring held, this one's held via a clamp. So first thing we're going to do, slide the clamp on, then we're going to get the exhaust and we're going to slide this on. So just shimmy it back and forth until it's on. So there we go, that's on. And then we're going to undo the nut at the top before tightening anything down. We want to get it all in the right position, so unscrew the nut, and then see, we need to go down a bit, we need to go up now. You just have to play around with it until it's in. Once it's in, twist the nut on just enough so it's secured, and you see a bit of thread, and then you can play around with the positioning. So for example, that's where it's held better, so so we're just gonna
play around with the positioning. I'm going to have to take this out and do it again, as it came out the actual exhaust, so I'm going to have to pull out the actual nut. There we go. That nut finally wanted to come out. So then let's push the exhaust back on. We'll just take this off for now. Push the exhaust back on. Okay, there we go. Exhaust is back on. Now, this thing at the bottom might need to go down a bit. That might have a bit of play. And then the exact same thing we just did before. Bolt. Should hopefully, if you get your exhaust in the right position, there we go, should go all the way through. Then we're going to tighten that up, finger tight for now. And before we do anything, let's tighten up this clamp. So for this clamp, I'm going to use this with a 10mm on it and flip it to tightened, and we're just going to hold it, and we're just going to get to tightening. You want this one tight, as you don't want any air leaks, because if you get air leaks, then the sound you'll hear won't be coming from the actual exhaust, it'll be coming from the gaps. So that's pretty tight. Now we're going to come back with our drill and our adjustable spanner. We're going to hold the spanner on the back side, make sure your drill's set to inwards. Oh, that's out. Make sure your drill's set to inwards, and you're just going to go into the tight. Now it's all tight, that's you done. You've changed your exhaust over, we got rid of the baffles, so this is what it looks like. It's clamped, and a baffle, as you can see, nothing.
Okay, so now we have the Blackwidow exhaust on the motorbike. Like I said earlier, this still has the catalytic converter in it and the silencer, so it is just the end cam we're changing. So we've put the Blackwidow on now, and we've removed both the baffles. So the first thing that I want to mention is the noise. If you guys can hear, it's a lot louder, it's a lot more of a deeper and richer tone, and you can hear when I actually downshift, which is nice, and when I upshift you can hear the noise, which is a thing I like. There's also a little pop and bang to it compared to the Acro. However, a couple things is that I think over time it will get really annoying, as it's very loud through my helmet. It's very loud through my helmet, so I think over time it might get annoying, and the size doesn't really fit the actual size of the bike, so it's quite a small end can, and I'm on obviously a Duke 125, which is pretty big. This end can looks like it's supposed to be fitted onto like a Honda Grom or a Benelli TNT 125, something like that. That's what it feels like it's supposed to be fitted on. However, for I believe around £300, you can't complain. It's a good slip-on end can. It changes the sound of the bike, gives it more of a deeper, richer tone, which is nice. Some people like it, I like it, and the price point is good. Whereas the Acro, for example, although it's actually fit for the bike and it's meant to be on the bike, you can tell that it looks like it's meant to be there, the Acro, and it's less about the sound for the Acro and it's more about the performance. So that Acro is actually made for the Duke 125, where this Blackwidow that I have, I don't know what bike it's made for. It fit. I think it's like 41 mil, is it? I don't know, like the piping or whatever it is, it's something like that. It fits onto the pipe, so I put it on for a little sound comparison and a little price point. So in my overall opinion, I think that the actual Acro, even though it doesn't sound as loud, as deep, it's more of a high-pitched, raspy sound, it fits the bike, you know? It's meant to be on the bike, it's made to be on the bike, it looks like it's meant to be on the bike. It's fully carbon fiber, which is cool, but there's no baffles. So the Acro is just a solid piece, whereas as you saw when I switched the exhausts over, the Blackwidow has two baffles, meaning that if I want it louder, I take both out like I currently have. If I want it quieter, I can put both in. If I want it in between, I can put just one in, and you can play around. You can put the either end baffle in. So there's one that slots in where the exhaust connects, and then there's one at the end of the exhaust, and they both will give off a bit of a different sound. So you can play around with them and see. But for the price point, this Blackwidow is definitely worth it. I like the sound of it. However, my bike came with the Acro exhaust on it already. It's the one I've been riding it with. You can't really, the only downside with the Acro is it's not very loud, and whether that's because the bike has the cat on it and the silencer, it makes it like that, or that's just how they're made from factory, I don't know. But I would like to be able to hear the upshifts and downshifts with the Acro. That's the only downside that I have. This exhaust, I can really hear it, and I think it's sound wise, it really lets people hear you. You know, it's like a statement piece. Like people will look, they'll turn their heads, because they'll be like, oh, that bike has a nice noise, or it makes a noise. Whereas with the Acro, you can't really hear the noise, so it's just more like a calm, relaxed bike, which is good if you want just a chill bike. If you just want a quiet bike that gets you A to B, you don't care about changing the exhaust, changing the sound, or the risk of it being too loud, then, you know, stick with the stock or get the Acro. You know, that Acro slip-on looks really nice. However, for the price point, it definitely is a bit expensive and doesn't really give you the sound that you think it would for the price point. This one here is cheaper, and the sound that comes from it is just that deep, rich tone, which really makes the bike sound aggressive and give it a bit more life, you know? Like, when you have a bike because, you know, you like riding first of all, and then you like the look of the bike, and then you like the sound, right? Everyone likes the sound of a bike, so obviously you want a bike that makes a bit of noise, which this exhaust is perfect for, the slip-on. You don't have to change anything, you don't have to take it to a garage, you know, you're not replacing like anything, you're not undoing any sensors. All you're doing is taking the stock exhaust off, which is held on by some bolts and some springs, and you're replacing it with a different end can. All you have to do then is slot it in, screw the bolts on, and either put a clamp on it like I have in my case, or put the springs on it if you buy the one that's right for your motorcycle. I hope this video has helped you kind of decide what exhaust you want, and to understand that just because the exhaust is expensive doesn't mean it's always the best sounding exhaust. I said this is it's less than half the price, this Blackwidow, and it sounds louder, makes a deeper sound. It just doesn't look all there for me, you know. I like the look of the Acro, which is why I'm gonna go back to the Acro, because I think it's meant to be on the bike. It feels like it's supposed to be on the bike. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it's supposed to be on the bike. This exhaust sounds like it's supposed to be on the bike. You can hear the bike with this exhaust, hear the upshifts, hear the downshifts, but it just doesn't look very good. So hopefully that helps you decide what exhaust you want and gave you an idea that you don't have to look for the most expensive exhaust for it to sound good. And make sure you boys keep safe, ride safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.